All right, we got the Squirrelinator 10,000. I haven't given it a name yet. Probably the name will be in the title. It's probably the world's best squirrelinator because I don't know if there's ever another squirrelinator. Probably nobody ever. I jumped it up pretty much. So essentially it's a box, rectangular box. So we've got a little bit wider than taller. I don't know the exact dimensions. I think it's 35 inches by 25, 26, 22 inches, something like that. If you're gonna make one, you make it whatever dimensions that you want. So the main feature is it's a dual purpose, right? So you can pick off your squirrels and you can also set this up as a backyard target practice. So you're not losing all of your ammo. So the trick is, we've got a couple of ramps here. So Kevin, follow me around. We've got a ramp set up over here. And so the little squirrels can come up here and then they can go in the little porthole here and they can go across the ramp. And then on the other side, depending on which side your squirrels want to approach from, we've got a ramp over here on the other side. So pretty straightforward construction. We've got a nice tin roof, so if you want to put it outside to do target practice, well obviously for squirrels it's going to be outside. So long-term thinking here. And then there's all kinds of setups you guys can do for target practice. I decided to go with the standard, these are the standard slingshot targets. I like to use the steel shot. I was trying to pick squirrels off with the clay ammo. I don't think it's powerful enough. You may want to look into getting some lead ammo, but the basic idea is we want to draw in the squirrel, so we got to have some bait. I got a peanut butter jar here too, so I'll squirrel that down. I'll screw that one down, and then I can open the lid. So when I'm not hunting, then I can protect my bait. Although the squirrels probably, once they figure out that there's food in here, will end up chewing through here. They can reach down there and grab what they need. If I don't like the height, I'll just trim it up a little bit. And so once the squirrel comes across here, you can pretend Mr. Penguin is the squirrel and he's grabbing the bait there, then we can pick him off like that. We can also save our ammo. So if you're trying to pick squirrels off in the woods, obviously you're just shooting ammo all over the place and you're going to lose ammo. So this is a catcher. So you set this out outside your house. If you live out in the woods, you can put it on your balcony, stuff like that. And then when other squirrels come by, you can practice on squirrels, get yourself dinner, and you're not wasting ammo all over the place, because the ammo is going to hit the back here, just an old sheet, and it's going to run down, collect down in here, and then you're also going to be collecting your squirrel meat as well. So this is just a standard rope set up here, and all this is all reclaimed materials. I haven't bought anything new. You probably won't have to buy anything new too. If you just look around, ask your neighbors, you'll find all kinds of things. And then once this is being retired as a squirrel hunt trap, then it's just going to be a standard target practice slingshot trap. I've wanted to make this for a long time because, you know, there's no real easy place to set up for target practice where I am. So this is a place that I can bring it with me. I can set it up hunting anywhere. I can bring it to my tree stand. I can set it up over at the van up in the sky and pick squirrels off there. And if you take this down, you can also use it for 22. You know, you can pick squirrels off like the same. Once you get them habituated to coming in here, you got all your bait in there, they're going to keep coming in there looking for dinner. So simple, easy solution. Now all I have to do is find out if it works. So let's move on to the hunting portion of this video. That one stayed in. Yeah. Dead. Right in the brain. Well, little did I know when I began this adventure slingshotting squirrels that the squirrels would exact massive revenge back on me. That's right, the squirrels infiltrated my attic just as I was unleashing fury all over them. And if you don't believe me, I've got the aqua view. You shove it up here in a little hole I had for the smoke detector connection. And there we see a little bee in my attic space. And these guys had been going hard, chewing on everything they could find, on wood, on absolutely everything. These are massive gray squirrels. Usually we get the red squirrels infiltrating our attic space. Now, I'm letting you guys know this because I know you guys probably have some squirrels in your bits, in your problems, in your areas, and I'm going to tell you guys what works on getting rid of squirrels and what doesn't. Because over the last few weeks, months even, I have tried some things, and some things work pretty good. Some things work kind of moderately. Well, let me tell you something about squirrels. Squirrels are characters, but they're creatures of habit. They have certain peculiarities. There's certain things that will annoy them, but not get rid of them. And then there's certain things that will ultimately get rid of them. And I tell you what, these squirrels know when you're home and they know when you're away. They're watching you literally all of the time. So stay tuned. I'm going to give you guys some tips. So after clunking a few of these squirrels in the brain and elsewhere, they started to figure out that this box was a no-no square. You guys know the no-no square. Well, this squirrel figured out after a while that if it grabbed any of the bait inside the canister, it would get whacked. Because that was my cue when a squirrel had settled in, that I could take my shot. So this squirrel's figured out, like, it hasn't figured out that the whole entire box is a no-no square, but it has sure figured out that as soon as it takes a bite from the peanut butter jar, that it's going to get whacked. So these squirrels get smarter and smarter as I go. As you'll see, they get more and more wary of the box, eventually ignoring it altogether. But that's not before I educate at least another half a dozen squirrels, so stay tuned. So a few more clunks at these squirrels. They started to work on the black walnuts I had caged up because they knew that I probably wasn't going to be able to shoot them, I figure, when they're going after the walnuts, because they're kind of in a peculiar kind of orientation where you can't get a really good headshot on them. And this is after landing a few squirrels, by the way. So the ones that are left are the ones that, like, they're figuring things out. So they're working away at the walnuts, not really being able to get them out. And that's, of course, the whole point, is to keep them around, but not really grabbing the food. And then by then, after, whacking out the less cautious ones, the ones that were left were pretty skittish. Like this one, he doesn't want to go in the no-no square. He wants to go in the no-no square, but he definitely does not want to go in the no-no square because he knows anywhere he goes in there, he's probably going to get whacked. So I've educated these squirrels over a long period of time. So this one, he doesn't even go in the no-no square. He just tiptoes around, grabs a few things, and he's out of there. He has no interest at all in sticking around. And then, of course, as the squirrels get smarter, I need to get smarter too. And so my approach moved from the no-no square to the tree. But this isn't until all these little squirrels decided to go completely nocturnal when, of course, I wasn't awake. So taking a couple more pot shots in the trees here before I need to get down to business on the attic squirrels. So I'm going to tell you straight up, if you have plastic vents like I do, this is a bathroom fan vent, that's where they first infiltrated the attic. And then once they got in the attic space, they just started chewing everything out so they could have multiple exits and entrances. So the best way, obviously, is to not have these cheap ones. Any way a squirrel can get in, it will. It's kind of curious that I've had these massive gray and black squirrels coming in the attic, because usually it's the red ones, because the red ones can fit in like very, very tight spaces. Anyway, the first thing you're going to want to do if you think you have a squirrel up in your attic is to actually figure it out, because, my wife, Courtney, she's like, for sure we have a whole freaking raccoon up there. And I'm like, there's no way. Anyway, they started chewing on the bath fan. So the easy way to scare them off for a little bit is to fire up the bath fan, because there's something weird, and then they take off because they're kind of skittish. And then after that stopped working, I decided to squirt some WD-40 up in there and some bug spray, turn the bath fan on. That worked for a little bit too. They just kind of scattered off. But like I said, the only way to stop them from coming in is to use metal. You can use some metal meshing to cover up the holes, or go with metal vents altogether. They're not super expensive, and they're going to pay you back in the long run. So as I said, the first thing you need to do when you have squirrels is to get some intel. So shoving the camera up here, figuring out exactly what's up there. If it's not a raccoon, a raccoon's a much different problem, much different beast than a squirrel. To figure out what the squirrels are doing up there, where they're hanging out. And, my wife, she tried banging on the ceiling, and that would kind of get them to scatter at the start. We would try, yelling at them, sticking things up there, which I'll show you in a second, just kind of rattle around and kind of get them going. But you know what? Everything we threw at these squirrels, they just kind of ignored, and then they just went back to their everyday schedule, which is to, do whatever the heck they wanted. I put a broadhead up there, and I tried to stab them. I put peanut butter on a broadhead and actually legitimately stabbed them, but they didn't really care that much. They just left, and then they came back the next day. So a little bit of a stick up there jiggling around does kind of irritate them, and they're like, what the heck's going on? I'm out of here. And then after a while, they didn't care. They really didn't. They could care less if I was jamming a stick at them. I put the camera up there when filming them. They didn't care. They knew they were safe up there, and there was absolutely nothing I could do to get them out. So I tried a little bit of a different tactic here. I tried to legitimately deafen these guys with alarm calls and predator calls and squirrel calls and everything else. So this is the Fox Pro. It's a game call, and you can program it to do whatever you want. I tried like pig squealing. I tried like a pack of coyotes, a pack of wolves. And you know what? It did get them to go. It drove them nuts. Because, this is a giant sounding board, essentially, when you put it up against the drywall like that. But it also annoyed the crap out of us, and we couldn't run it when it was, nighttime, because we wouldn't be able to sleep. Obviously, the squirrels hated it when it ran, so they pretty much left. But then they came right back. So one of the two most effective calls, if you just want to get rid of them and then change your vents so they can't get back in, is a squirrel distress call. The other one was the wolf pack. I found that worked pretty good. The other ones had moderate success, but I think they just really didn't really like for the sound. It just kind of drove them nuts. It was way too loud and hurt their ears. Because frankly, you can get this so loud that it hurts your own ears. And I actually wore ear protection while I was firing this up, just to make sure I didn't blow up my own ears, because it is super loud. And as a sounding board, you can imagine those squirrels want to have nothing to do with it. Now, this is another tactic that doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't work, but it doesn't work. I thought if I just cut all the branches coming off of my tree leading up onto the roof, they wouldn't be able to get on it. And I don't know, I still to this day, I don't know how they got off and on, because we literally cut every single branch. I mean, not every single branch that they could like leap from onto the roof, but we cut like anything that would make it convenient for them to be able to get on and off the roof. And I still managed to catch 3 squirrels in the attic through various traps. So I'm telling you, they will, I don't know if they'll scale the walls, or they're climbing on the electrical wire coming to the house, or I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if they dive bomb from 30 feet, but whatever it was, they jumped. They got on the roof because they knew that it was a good dry place for them to hang out, and so it was worth it for them to get there, and so they did. So here's us removing a bunch of the branches. It wasn't easy. The branches had to be removed anyway, so it's not a big deal. I wanted to get them away from the roof and get all the leaves out of the gutters, because that was not helping as far as, you know, just water removal and all that good stuff. So not such a big deal. And here's my first attempt. I was able to push back the smoke detector. It's an old vintage smoke detector that wasn't in use anymore, so it was just basically the octagon box. I shoved the octagon box on there and put a pancake on top to cover it, and then I was able to throw up the rat trap. I grabbed this from Princess Auto, and you know, they got all kinds of traps, and so this was an easy one that I could fit in through that octagon space without, you know, causing a lot of damage. And I actually managed to get a small one of the juvenile ones, but after a while I started just knocking them out. Not killing them, but just knocking them. And so I actually had probably 2 or 3 false triggers with adult rats. I want to say rats, but they're not. They're both the same. They're actually bigger and more robust than a rat. So you can't actually get the adults with a rat trap. You've got to resort to something a lot more effective. So I'll show you what I ended up using to get the bigger ones, which is basically the conibear. It's a mink trap. So obviously those are kind of tricky for a lot of people to get. That's why you might have to hire an expert. So if you're going to try to catch squirrels up in your attic, you're going to want a good access hole. This I'll explain in a second, but we'll open it. It just on a lever system here. You see it's spring loaded. So you can get various size openings, but basically this little clip here will come in and then it'll hold it, whatever. You can do that on the sidewall too. Obviously our major issue is them being up there in the attic. And then I've got, you can use a rat trap, but if you do use a rat trap, what's going to happen is you're only going to be able to catch the small ones. You're not going to be able to catch the big ones. And I don't know if I can explain to you what's happening here, but that's just a cardboard box. And then these conibear traps, it's a 110, I think, so it's for mink. Plenty of good size for squirrel. Although I tell you, a squirrel will not die straight away in the 110. And so I've got the cardboard box is just propping it up. There's other ways to prop things up, and you can make this out of wood or whatever, but I thought a cardboard box would be better because I could just throw it up there and then I wouldn't have to worry about it. I did have the cardboard box also strapped to this arrow here, so it's just an old arrow. Reason being is once I catch a squirrel, I don't want the squirrel to take off and go and fall down into there and then die, because they don't die right away, even with the 110, even on a good catch. And then I don't know if you can see what I've built there around the trigger is it's actually a couple of cups, and I put peanut butter and some seeds inside, and you can see at the bottom there they actually chewed through the cup to get at it, and they chewed through that before they even triggered it one time. And I did switch to this because the rat trap wasn't killing the big ones and it was just scaring them away. So I think they got pretty timid about this trap, and then they just gingerly chewed out the bottom there so that they could access the seed and the peanut butter, and then it was just kind of a matter of time before it would actually trigger it. And what's interesting about this panel here is once the squirrel tripped it, how the 110 works, all the conibear traps work, is they shoot forward, jump forward. So actually, both times I did catch a squirrel, it did knock out the trap door, and then the squirrel would be kicking around here in the trap. Thankfully, none of them escaped, and I did have to come up with a hockey stick and whack them out. But that trick works pretty good. You can get a 110 in a pretty small space. This is an 8-inch by 8-inch hole, and I can get the 110 up there as well as the box. The box doesn't fit perfectly up in there, but I was able to kind of squish it together. You can get little metal tabs as well, and you screw them onto a heavy piece of metal as a weight, and then you can actually pry up the 110. It sits on there nicely. And then the squirrel, I don't think, like to go inside that box, so that it would mostly chew from over here. But I did manage to get 2 with that 110. So that's a pretty good trick to get squirrels. I would not recommend using the rat traps. I did catch 2 small ones with the rat trap, but it's definitely not going to get an adult size squirrel. And our squirrels in Canada are actually pretty big. So a 110 is just about the right size for a squirrel, not the rat trap. So know that one way or another, you've got some delicious squirrels to eat. You want to take advantage of this. So I'm going to show you the absolute world's best way to prepare wild squirrel. Or in this case, are they called domestic squirrels, since I pretty much raised them in my own house? Hard to say. Regardless, what you want to do is you want to cut off the feet, you want to cut off the tail. This is just going to make cleaning it a lot easier. Then you're going to make a slit along the back and pull front to back just like you're taking a sock off, and give it a good rinse. I will say the best tasting squirrel is when you leave that squirrel in your fridge for 7 days. As long as the outer skin isn't too damaged and bacteria is not accumulating, or you don't have any punctures in the guts, you're going to be fine. We'll call that aging. And then you're going to give that squirrel a good bath. Give it a good rinse off, and then add some salt. I like to use seasoning salt in a large pot of water, and you're going to boil this for an hour to an hour and a half. Now, I've timed this before, and there's no real set amount of time. It is definitely a long time, and you want to finish it off when the meat pulls away from the bone, and not a moment sooner. If you age it a little bit longer, it'll take less boiling, and if it's not aged, you'll have to boil it for longer. But the real key is you want to have that meat fall off the bone. Otherwise, you're going to have chewy squirrel. There's no way around that. So once you've got the meat falling off the bone, you're going to want to add or remove it from the water, and then you're going to add your favorite sauce. I like Sweet Baby Ray's, and then add some adobo or whatever spices that you want. Convert it over to a grill, grating over top of a sheet of tinfoil or whatever is going to catch your drippings, and you're going to cook these exactly as you would chicken wings. Now, a lot of people will say this is too much work for wild game, and if it's really good on its own, why do you have to go through so much preparation? Well, the reason is that your modern foods, like, it goes through a lot of work too. You don't get like delicious chicken wings just from scratch. They will soak them in salt water for days, remove a lot of the blood, and tenderize the meat with stuff like MSG and all these other things. Now, if you buy chicken breast from the store and it's like fresh store-bought, not aged, nothing special, they're chewy. They're legitimately chewy, right? So we don't want our squirrel to be chewy. We want to give it the treatment that it deserves from wild game meats and proper game meat handling and preparation. So this is exactly how you do it. So boil it, hour and a half, take it out, barbecue sauce, your spices, and let that thing cook in the oven for about 15 minutes at 350, 375, something like that. And this stuff's going to come out like fall off the bone, delicious, and comparable to a delicious chicken wing. Now, if you guys don't believe me, I'll give my wife a bite, and you guys can figure out whether she likes or enjoys the taste of domestic wild squirrels.
It's good. It's good.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this adventure. Catch me on the next one. If you watched the video all the way through, right full stop. Really do appreciate having you guys along.